order. We are going to start in a subcommittee until we get another person here. First up, we're going to hear Representative Owen, House Bill 585, if you want to come forward. Just as a reminder, we have 1 hour and we have 4 bills. So if you'll keep your comments as concise as possible, that would be helpful because we do have a definite stop time. So, Representative, when you're ready, you can start.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Members of the committee, I am State Representative Bill Owen of the 131st District, and I'm pleased to have the opportunity to present to you HB 585, which is just an excellent piece of legislation modeled after Senate Bill 12, which I believe is sponsored by the chairman of the committee. And you all are probably very aware of it. I don't want to spend a lot of time. As the chairman just said, you only have an hour, so I thought I would just make a few brief remarks and see if there's any questions, and if not, then I'll stand down. 585 is here because of some of the current language that needs to be tightened in 408.145. We've had some litigation that, and a very narrow interpretation that some people have tried to take, that Missouri credit card processors do not have the ability to use the full terms and conditions of bordering states. And this is just to make sure we tighten that down to clear this up and to prevent any future litigation. Really, with that, Madam Chairman, I'll just stop there and ask if there's any questions.
Thank you, Representative. Any questions for the bill sponsor? I think we're all fairly familiar with this legislation. We've passed it out of here, and we've actually passed it out of the entire Senate. So, seeing no questions, is there anyone here wishing to testify in favor of House Bill 585?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, David Kent, registered lobbyist for Missouri Bankers Association. The bill sponsor summed the bill language up very well. Senator Crawford, you're very well aware of this as well. As you mentioned, this has been passed out of the full body of the Senate 31-2. This bill itself has passed the House 148-0. So with that, I'll take any questions.
Questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Anyone else wishing to testify in favor of?
Madam Chairwoman, Ian Dunlap with the Missouri Credit Union Association would like to testify in support.
Questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Anyone else wishing to testify in favor of House Bill 585? Anyone here wishing to testify in opposition to House Bill 585? Anyone here for informational purposes for House Bill 585? Seeing none, this will conclude the hearing on House Bill 585. I'm going to skip back up to Senate Bill 657, which is my bill, so I can get that done. And Senator Hoskins, would you please take the gavel?
Next up, Senate Bill 657. Proceed when ready, Senator Crawford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. For the record, Sandy Crawford, District 28. Thanks for the opportunity to present to you Senate Bill 657. You all should have a substitute in front of you. This is basically, it is making it match the House bill. So this bill will, you're probably familiar with link deposits or MOBUCs, and the Treasurer's Office has asked us to increase the cap. There are only so many dollars that can be loaned through link deposits at this point in time, and they estimate that they're going to run out of money sometime next month. So they would like to raise it from a cap from 800 million to 1 billion, and also this is listed in buckets. You can only do so much money in each, like for ag, so much for business, and it's listed out by bucket. And so this is actually going to, instead of have a dollar amount, it's going to have a percentage of the funds. That way we don't have to come back in and change the dollar amount every time we up the cap. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the bill sponsor? Seeing none. First up, testify in favor of Senate Bill 657. Proceed when ready.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, David Kent, registered lobbyist for the Missouri Bankers Association, speaking in support of Senate Bill 657. This is just such a great program that our banks utilize, particularly whenever what we're in now with the high interest rate market. This enables them to offer their customers a lower interest rate on various types of loans. I can't remember how many banks we have participating in the program. I think around 100 that are actually registered to use the program. It's extremely popular right now and growing, which is what why we need to increase the cap on the MOBUX program. With that, I'll happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Next up, testify in favor.
Good morning, members of the committee. Philip Arnzen with the Missouri Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We'd like to go on the record in support. Access to capital is vital for growing businesses and expanding businesses, and so we believe this is a good program, and increasing the limit is a good idea.
Any questions for this witness? Seeing none. Next up, testify in favor.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Ian Dunlap with the Missouri Credit Union Association, going on record in support.
Any questions for this witness? Seeing none. Next up to testify in favor of Senate Bill 657. Morning, Weewick.
Good morning.
Proceed when ready.
Good morning, Senator and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to testify regarding Senate Bill 657. I want to share with you today how the MOBUX program and Senate Bill 657 can benefit working people throughout Missouri. My office administers the MOBUX program. Some of you also know this program by the name Linked Deposit. This program helps qualifying applicants across Missouri obtain low-cost loans for their small businesses, farms, and other economically impactful projects. Under the MOBUX program, my office deposits funds into an approved Missouri-based bank. Those funds are then placed in a certificate of deposit at an interest rate set by my office. The bank then loans an amount equal to the state's deposit to the approved applicant. So far in 2023, Missourians have seen their interest rates reduced from an average of 7.1% to 4.8% thanks to MOBUX. That's an average of roughly 30%. As of yesterday, there are 873 active deposits, totaling over $401 million in Missouri banks. That means 873 farmers, small businesses, and other economic drivers in 93 different counties have received over $400 million in affordable loans. As treasurer, my priorities can be summarized with what I call the 3 Ps: protecting taxpayers' money, providing opportunities for growth, and promoting the promise of America. I believe Senate Bill 657 is consistent with these objectives. The MOBUX program helps create opportunities by making Missouri an easier, friendlier place to do business and make a living. At this time, we are rapidly approaching the current cap of $800 million. Currently, there are over $600 million on deposit for MOBUX borrowers, and given the heavy influx of new applications received by my office, we are projected to reach the cap of $800 million by week of May 8th. That is just over 2 weeks from today. In the last 2 months alone, there has been over $200 million of demand from new applicants. And if you visit my office MOBUX application website, you will notice a disclaimer informing applicants of longer than average processing times due to heavy volume. Growing awareness of the program and rampant inflation likely explain the sharp increase in new applications. Historical trends show increased demand for MOBUX when interest rates are high, as they are right now. By raising the cap on MOBUX deposit to $1 billion, Senate Bill 657 will help lower the cost of doing business for more Missourians. Thank you for listening to my testimony, and for the work you each do to make Missouri a wonderful place to build a life and call home. With that, I'm happy to take any questions from the committee.
Any questions for the treasurer? Senator Brown.
Good morning, Vivek.
Good morning, Senator.
Thank you for coming out today. Just one question. So this would increase the cap from $800 million to $1 billion, correct?
That is correct.
So do you have any idea how far out will that get us? If this is already expected to reach the cap by next month, how much time do you think that would buy?
The program's end date is September 30th.
Okay.
We hope with the time it is taking to process the application, which used to be about 30 days, it is now taking more than 60 days. And we used to have 3 staff members dealing with that, but now we are short of 1 staff as we have one of the person leave the office to seek some other opportunity. We are recruiting for that vacant spot. I hope that will get us through July or August. Ideally, it would be 1.2 billion, but since we already asked for $1 billion, we are not increasing that cap at this point.
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you, Senator.
Next up to testify in favor of Senate Bill 657. Proceed when ready.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is John Bandy. I'm with FCS Financial. We're the cooperative lender for most of the state of Missouri. We serve the farmers and ranchers of the state of Missouri. We are an active user of the MOBUX program, and it really benefits the farmers and ranchers who are our borrowers and owner members. And so I'm testifying in favor of this bill. Currently, we're having to limit the way we use the program, so more of our customers, more of our borrowers could benefit from the MOBUX program. As I understand it, it's revenue neutral for the state, so it's as close to a win-win as you can get, I think. I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Next up,
Thank you.
testify in favor.
Members of the committee, Andrew Arnold, on behalf of the Independent Bankers Association in support of this legislation. We just wanted to thank Senator Crawford for bringing it for us.
Any questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Anyone else to testify in favor of Senate Bill 657? Seeing none, anyone here to testify in opposition of Senate Bill 657? Seeing none, anyone here to testify for informational purposes only for Senate Bill 657? Seeing none, Senator, any concluding remarks?
Just a great bill, and thanks for the opportunity.
Yes, thank you. That concludes the hearing on Senate Bill 657.
We're going to pause real quick to establish a quorum. Barb, would you please call the roll?
Senators Crawford.
Here.
Trent. Brown. Here. Hoskins. Here. Huff. Mosley. Roberts.
We do have a quorum. Let's see. Next up, we will hear from Representative Christofanelli, House Committee Substitute for House Bill 1019. Representative, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Phil Christofanelli from the 104th District, here to present House Bill 1019. I believe this committee has heard this bill before in its Senate companion version offered by Senator Trent. It is a fairly simple bill. There are a number of onerous reporting requirements that the Department of Insurance places upon members of the insurance industry. The airplane insurance, however, so insurance on your airplane property, is exempted from many of those requirements. However, that exemption does not extend to the casualty section of an airplane insurance policy. And so the casualty section concerns damage that your airplane may do to other people. And because the casualty section does not enjoy those exemptions, it becomes very expensive and onerous for the airplane insurance providers to offer airplane insurance in the state of Missouri. As a result, many folks have chosen to house their airplanes outside of the state of Missouri, even in terrible states like Illinois. And so we need to fix that and extend this exemption to the casualty section of airplane insurance and allow airplane insurance providers to protect and insure airplane owners in our state. There's also a couple of other amendments on this bill. I believe that's the lender-placed insurance, which is the chairman's bill, I believe, and also the privatization of Missouri Employers Mutual. These are all bills that you all should be very familiar with by this point in session. They've all enjoyed almost universal support throughout the legislative process with very little, if any, opposition. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to entertain any questions.
We pulled a little switcheroo on you, just make sure we're keeping you on your toes.
I noticed.
Anyone here to testify in favor of the bill?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Michael Henderson for the Missouri Insurance Coalition. Want to thank the sponsor for presenting this bill. As mentioned, I believe the same or similar legislation has passed the House 152 to nothing and the Senate 33 to nothing. My organization is in favor of all parts of this bill. Happy to elaborate or answer any questions on any parts thereof.
Questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for
you.
your testimony. Next up in favor of House Committee Substitute for House Bill 1019.
Madam Chairman, members of the committee, Michael Gibbons, representing Missouri Employers Mutual, to go on record in support. The privatization of MEM is part of this bill. You've heard it previously in the chairman's Senate Bill 181, House Bill 655. Be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any, but I think you're very familiar with it and been supportive in the past.
Sorry, I'm needed in two places at once. Questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Next up in favor.
Larry Case, representing the Missouri Association of Insurance Agents, also to go on record in favor.
Thank you. Any questions for the witness? Seeing none. Any other that would like to testify in favor?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Luke Reed, Department of Commerce and Insurance, testifying in favor of House Bill 1019. The original provision is our legislative proposal, the deregulation of aircraft insurance. We're trying to help folks who can't find affordable insurance for aircraft.
Questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Next up in favor.
Good morning. Tom Robbins for Strategic Air Services, very much in support of House Bill 1019. We appreciate Representative Christofanelli sponsoring it. I would give you a practical application if we pass this. My client presently has a Falcon 900 that is domiciled in Kansas. You pass this, they're bringing it to Missouri. So just think of this as the act to deprive Kansas of Missouri's tax dollars. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
That. Questions for this witness? Seeing none,
you.
thank you for your testimony. Next up in favor. Seeing none, anyone here in opposition to House Bill 1019? Seeing none, anyone here for informational purposes only for House Bill 1019? Seeing none, Representative, any final comments?
No further comments.
Thank you. This will conclude the hearing on House Committee Substitute for House Bill 1019. And next up is Senate Bill 536, Senator Fitzwater.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I got to say that this is Travis Fitzwater, Senate District 10. For the record, I've got to wear a bet with Representative Christofanelli that you surely wouldn't make me go after him, but here I am. So thanks a lot. We've been eyeing each other, and all of his stuff is probably dead now. But but anyway, I'm bringing Senate Bill number 536 before you. This is a cryptocurrency digital mining bill. Basically, it preempts cities from overregulating digital asset mining organizations or folks that mine these in their own homes, and just make sure that a city can't come in and overregulate outside the bounds of how they already regulate companies that are within their industrial zones or commercial zones or residential zones. And so it's rather simple. It's kind of complex because digital asset mining is kind of new, but at the same time, it's not when you take into account how we've tried to preempt cities from overregulating businesses over the last decade or so. And so we're just trying to get ahead of it. It's something that has created some real opportunity for people and opportunity for jobs, and even in rural areas where energy maybe people want to use in rural areas. It's a real opportunity to create some job programs in rural Missouri, and I think it's good to get out in front of it and make sure that they're not being discriminated against for the energy usage or noise levels when they have to follow all the same rules within jurisdictions now. So I'm glad to take any questions. There's also witnesses that come and testify on those.
Questions for the bill sponsor? Senator Brown.
So this is kind of a newer concept for me. Can you give me any examples of some of the overregulation that we're seeing in Missouri or other places that this would seek to avoid?
I think in other places you'll have municipalities that will come in and say, you're being too loud, so you have to obey past the ordinances that are already in place. You have to fulfill the requirements of your local ordinances no matter what. But in other places, digital mining groups are being discriminated against or rezoned as a result of the amount of energy that they may use or the noise that may come from it. We just want to make sure they're not discriminated against for being industrial use. Give them the freedom to build these companies, build these businesses. They're popping up in a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different cryptocurrencies, a lot of use cases. Just want to make sure that cities, which is happening around the nation, and you know this as well as any, that municipalities will be pretty aggressive on some of the regulations they have towards businesses they may not agree with. And so we just want to set a framework for how we're going to treat these organizations.
Thank you very much.
Further questions for the bill sponsor? Senator Huff.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Senator. So as I'm looking at this, it looks like we are trying to protect this business from some sort of local overregulation. Is that fair?
I would say that's fair, yeah.
Okay. So unlike what we did yesterday on the Senate floor, we're going to protect these businesses from overregulation at a local level while overregulating other businesses from the state. Is that right?
I mean, I don't want to rehash the arguments from yesterday.
Well, I have a strange feeling we're going to be rehashing this.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, the irony in this building is just not lost on me, Senator. So, good morning, and
Good morning to you.
I look forward to a great day.
Yeah.
Senator Huff, I have a question for you. Do you think that the Chinese could own these businesses?
Well, I mean, not in Missouri. Oh, wait, no.
I think
this
they could.
isn't an ag business. So a Chinese company could absolutely own this because we treat agriculture in this state differently than we do other businesses.
I think you might be right. Thank you.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Further questions for the bill sponsor?
Great feeling.
You have a great feeling that it's going to, okay. Seeing no further questions for the bill sponsor, is anyone here wishing to testify in favor of Senate Bill 536?
Good morning. My name is Eric Peterson. I am the Policy Director of Satoshi Action Fund, a nonprofit that supports Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining. Thank you so much for hearing the legislation today from Representative Fitzwater. I'm here to speak in favor of that legislation. As Representative Fitzwater laid out, all this legislation is doing is protecting the right of Bitcoin miners, which you can think of as Bitcoin data centers, from being able to operate in the state of Missouri. As some folks have pointed out, obviously they use a lot of energy, but they are really concentrated in rural areas. They make a large amounts of investments into formerly rural or formerly industrial areas that have often left. You'll hear from a few of them right after myself. All this legislation is doing is making sure that they can operate in industrial areas. They are not subject to extra discrimination that other data centers would not face. And I'm happy to answer any questions about this legislation. Thank you so much for your time today.
Questions for the witness? I do have one quick question. I think the senator mentioned noise levels.
Yes.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, no doubt there are some noise at these facilities. They use fans to cool their computers, just like any other data center. The next wave of Bitcoin data centers are actually using immersion technology. They're putting it into a liquid that doesn't create any noise. All of them have not quite moved to this yet. That said, this legislation does nothing to prevent localities from enforcing their noise ordinances. They are zoned for industrial. If this legislation were to pass, they would have to meet every regulation that they have for industrial zones. So, the same noise ordinance that a steel plant or a car manufacturer would have to meet, a Bitcoin miner or a Bitcoin data center would have to meet as well.
Thank you for that. Any further questions for the witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Next up in favor of Senate Bill 536.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Committee. My name is Jeremy Cady. I'm the State Director for Americans for Prosperity. We just want to go on record in support of Senate Bill 476, and I think I have a question.
Senator Huff, I have a feeling you might have a question.
Yeah, Madam Chair, could I inquire from the witness?
See?
Thank you. Thank you. So, Americans for Prosperity, we are in support of this legislation. Give me a reason. Because we're going to take away the locality's right to manage their own communities, right?
What this does is it allows these type of businesses that operate in the Bitcoin mining to just fall under the same rules as all the other businesses. So
but no other rule, right? So if a community says we would like to change our ordinances or our zoning practices, they will be precluded from doing that, correct?
If they want to discriminate against this particular
or
type
anyone,
of business, yeah.
Or anyone, right? So I mean, this legislation says you can't essentially change something with your local zoning or ordinances associated with this type of business. And you are supportive of that.
Yes.
You are supportive of the state interceding at the local level to preclude them from making decisions in their own community.
I think generally speaking, political subdivisions are parts of the state. I think the state
This is always the fun argument, right?
I know, right?
We say the feds can't tell us what to do. But we're going to tell all the localities in our state exactly what they can and can't do.
Well, interestingly enough, the state is also like if you look at the founding, the state was also the foundational. For
I thought
also,
sort of the
whenever you look at
foundation of the
federalism.
organization that you represent was, freedom-loving Americans.
And we love freedom also, and we think.
But
this is a
really,
freedom
it's
bill.
only if you agree with the policies enacted by the state. Is that right?
In this instance.
In this instance, right. We're going to go with the state, not the locality. Great. All right. Thanks, Madam
No
Chair.
problem.
Further questions for the witness? Seeing, this is just a timing issue. Just thank you for your testimony.
No problem. Thank you.
Next up in favor of Senate Bill 536.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of this legislation today. My name is Ethan Thampe on behalf of Crypto World, a retail and education crypto company out of St. Peters, Missouri. What we do is we sell mining equipment. We do education services to the local community to educate them on the possibilities of blockchain technology, digital asset savings, and transaction technologies like Bitcoin. This legislation would send a strong signal to folks around the country, around the world even, that Missouri is a state that protects these ideas of financial sovereignty and economic liberty. It would help us bring more investment and more innovative technology and technological applications to the state. So we're strongly in support, and we definitely appreciate the sponsor bringing this forward and your all's time and consideration.
Questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Next up, in favor of Senate Bill 536.
Senators, my name is Matthew Carson. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of AIM Data Centers, Inc. I actually attended Missouri S&T down in Rolla, and we're in the process of currently investing and constructing a Bitcoin mining facility in Mexico, Missouri, and several other locations nearby. It brings me great pleasure to return to Missouri, where I went to school and I actually first got my start in this industry. You heard from other proponents of the legislation about how Bitcoin mining and related industries will be to the benefit of the people of Missouri, and I would love to provide some more detail about this. I've been mining Bitcoin since technically before it was an industry, in my parents' garage, moving on to my dorm room actually at Rolla, and then further on I rented my first industrial warehouse in the industrial district of Rolla to build my first facility. Since that time, I've been a part of design, construction, and operated now 10 facilities over 3 megawatts or larger in 6 states and 3 countries. My partners and I come from a diverse international background, all of us with the goal to invest and grow Bitcoin mining with the business in the state of Missouri. We're here today with only one message. We just wish to be treated equally to all other high-load industrial businesses such as data centers or other factories. Our facilities in many cases are designed and built to be able to handle a wide variety of computing equipment, such as video rendering or data processing, not necessarily just Bitcoin mining. We see no reason that we should be treated any differently than other such industries as we create high-paying jobs at our facilities. We hire almost exclusively local contractors and partners to help us construct, operate, and maintain these facilities, as well as contributing quite significantly to the local economy. This is especially important as many of our facilities are based in these rural areas where the previous anchoring industrial business has gone under or been significantly downsized. When we begin investing in a community, we prefer to work with as many local partners as possible. Our current project in Mexico is almost exclusively local employees and contractors. We view this as important to be good community partners and to keep as much of our investment dollars in the local communities as possible. We believe this legislation will give us the regulatory certainty to invest even more in the state of Missouri. We want to be in Missouri to help the people of Missouri continue to grow and flourish for the years to come. Please support this legislation, and thank you very much for your time.
Appreciate it. Any questions? Oh, Senator.
So you said you've been mining Bitcoin since, what was it, college, back at your home? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Could you, just for someone that's more of a layman on the issue, could you kind of describe like the process of mining Bitcoin, what that looks like?
Sure. In the simplest form, the way to think about it is the massive amount of computing power that we refer to as Bitcoin mining is effectively the network security for the transactions. It's a series of computers basically going through an algorithm trying to find the solution to a problem in order to basically authenticate transactions. So it's not, I mean, it's dissimilar but not too dissimilar to, say, a room full of auditors always double checking each other's transactions.
Okay. That helps some.
Any other questions from the committee? Well, the chair has one. So you said that your group that you're associated with is made up of several folks from around the world?
Yes.
That's kind of scary here in Missouri. And And you just want to be treated the same, right? As you
As
expand
any-
these businesses in Missouri, you just want to be treated the same, right?
Yeah, as any other
Yeah, we don't do
industrial
that here
data
either.
center business.
Okay, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No. Appreciate it.
Thank you very
Any
much
other
for your time.
witnesses in support?
Anyone here wishing to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 536?
Good morning, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Michael Berg, and I'm representing the Missouri Sierra Club. And these bills would reduce the ability of local governments to protect themselves from the negative effect of proof-of-work cryptocurrency mining, which the previous person here actually described very well what that is, and it requires an enormous amount of computing power and often tens of thousands of machines. And there's reasons why local governments would want to protect themselves from negative effects. So everything testifying here, I have the citation and examples. But basically, if crypto mining was a country, it would produce more energy than the Philippines. It's an enormous amount of energy. And the Sierra Club is not looking to, has no position on cryptocurrency as itself, but the proof of mining has a lot of problems, including the energy use. There's been examples, multiple examples in the country where in order to, crypto mining has caused local utilities to have to do a lot of upgrades and services that weren't there before. And then often the crypto mining operations leave, and the local utility is on the hook for the problems, for the upgrades. You have, I've got, there's a study recently by Fitch Ratings that found that crypto mining operations typically bring very little additional economic benefits in the forms of jobs and ancillary business to local economies. And a big issue that's been mentioned here before is it can be very loud. And some people have described it in multiple communities like Cherokee County. Someone described it like sitting on the tarmac with a jet engine in front of you, but the jet never leaves, the jet never takes off. It's just constant annoyance, and can use a lot of water to cool the computers. It could jeopardize air quality if it's, of course, coal-fired power plants to create the energy, and there's often a lot of solid waste generated. So there's a lot of issues involved, and local communities, if they decide that operations moved in or they're worried, should be able to make rules to protect themselves specifically from this industry.
Questions for this witness? Senator Brown.
So just a point of clarification. I don't know if it'd be best to ask this to you or the bill sponsor. This, it was my understanding, this wouldn't prohibit a local political subdivision from putting in place policies that prevent like a noise ordinance or other ordinances that would apply to a broad range of industries, correct? So they could still have an ordinance requiring certain noise levels that would apply to this and other industries. It was my understanding this is just meant to prohibit ordinances just specific to this one.
I mean, you have to see how, you have to look at legality. Probably people would see it better. But let's say something moves in and then you increase the industry, you increase the standard. Could this make someone be able to say, hey, it was because of us that you did this? I don't know. But we don't want to facilitate increases of crypto mining because of all these things that were answered. But, you know, I don't know how it would be interpreted if you raised it for that. But, you know, a community might believe that another operation that makes noise is more beneficial to the community because it produces a needed service or more jobs for the community. So if you decide this is a problem, you should have the right to do that. That's our position.
Okay. Maybe the bill sponsor could provide a little clarification also in closing comments. Just curious if this would just be, if you could still enact an ordinance that could limit noise, as long as it was applied to all industries equally and not just one.
Yeah, and maybe he could. Do worry that, something comes in, the community gets worried, you enact a strict ordinance, and then based on this, a mining operation says, well, you're discriminating against us. It's just you're just doing this in order to get us out.
Thank you.
Further questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Anyone else to testify in opposition to Senate Bill 536? Seeing none, anyone here wishing to testify for informational purposes only for Senate Bill 536? Seeing none, Senator, any final comments?
You're right. Yeah, local ordinances, just as long as it's not discriminating against one industry.
Thank you, Senator. This will conclude the hearing on Senate Bill 536. I make a motion that we adjourn. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. We're adjourned.